All right. Let's make it happen. Let's do day number 2. We're gonna go back to our space rock game, legally distinct from Asteroids. Yesterday we built this from nearly scratch. We had the art assets provided to us, but all these behaviors, everything you're seeing of anything that moves or behaves in a certain way, we built yesterday. Today, I understand we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to now be building in uh, power-ups, I think is this next tutorial, which is rad and going to be very, very helpful for where we want to go next. So let's see what our friend here has to say. I wish we had a name. In any case, our friend.
In this video, we're going to add power-ups to our arcade shooter game. We made this game in another tutorial, so you can go and check that out, or you can download its finished project from the description. So let's open up that project, and here we are going to add two power-ups, one which will give you a spread shot ability so you can fire extra bullets, and one that will make you invincible. We need sprites for these power-ups, which I have in this asset package. So I'll drag it into GameMaker, hit yes, then add all, and then import. You can download this file from the description. Let's
Yep, okay. Let's go ahead and grab those. Error, access denied. This XML file does not appear to have any style information associated with it. Oh, is it because it's on Amazon Cloud and Amazon Cloud died? What happens if we just get rid of everything before CMS? No? What if we do a search for that? Okay. Well, looks like I'm not the only one who's experienced this problem. Um, huh. Okay, well, more than one way to skin a cat, as my grandpa used to say. Let's go into Figma, and I don't know. We'll make a quick little art asset.
make the spread shot power-up first.
So it's 60 by 60, just a simple circle with, oh, I see, kind of lines coming away from it. All right, and this will be cool because this will be my first time trying to import one of my own assets. I've been curious about how that is going to work, at what level of fidelity is it all going to get brought in, and all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and make some power-ups. Make a quick frame, make it 60 by 60. Shift 2, gonna make a circle. Bwomp. Fill up the whole thing, center it, remove the fill, add a stroke. Stroke is white. Let's change the background of the frame to be black. What's that?
first. We need an object for that, so let's make an object here. And I'll call this obj power up spread. And let's give this object the spread power up sprite. Now this is the power up that the player can collect, and I'm gonna make it so that when it spawns, it starts moving towards the center of the room. So for that, let's go and add the create events. And for coding these objects, you can use either GML Visual or code. This tutorial will show you both. Now in the events, let's first of all set the speed of the up to 1 so it moves but slowly, and then let's set its direction to point towards the center of the room. So we get the center of the room simply by dividing the width and height of the room by 2. That's simple enough, but if the power up goes outside the room, say if the player doesn't collect it, then it's gonna continue existing and that may cause memory leaks. So as soon as it goes outside the room, we want to destroy it. For that, let's go and add the other outside room event, and here just destroy the instance. This object is done, so for now let's go into the game room and place the power up here manually. Later in the video, we are gonna work on spawning this automatically. So if you run the game, you're gonna see the power up is there and it moves towards the center of the room, but you can't collect it yet. So let's work on that. Let's go into obj player and here add the create event. We want to make a variable obj player and here add the create event. We want to make a variable that can tell us whether a power up is active, and in that case, which power up is active. So we're gonna make a variable simply called power up, and by default it will be set to 0. So the way I'm gonna make it work is that if this is 0, it means that no power up is active. If this is 1, it means that the spread power up is active. And if it's 2, it means that the ghost power up is active. This way, after this tutorial is over, you can go ahead and add power ups 3 and 4 and so on and continue to expand this system. Now to allow the player to collect this power up, let's go ahead and add a collision event with that power up object. So when the player collides with this power up, we want to activate that power up, then set an alarm for that power up to be deactivated after 10 seconds and destroy the power up instance. So to achieve all that in this event, first of all, let's change the power up variable to 1. After that, let's set the alarm 0 event to 10 into 60 frames. So because there are 60 frames in 1 second, this means we are telling the alarm 0 event to run after 10 seconds. Then let's also set the ship's color to yellow to indicate that the power up is active. And finally, let's destroy the other instance, which is the power up. If you're using GML visual, then make sure you click on the arrow on your destroy instance action and you select other. So that's how it's gonna destroy the other instance. If you don't do this, then it's just gonna destroy the player itself.
I've been talking to myself. Gosh dang it. We could put all that in the other one as well, but why is it self? Why is it other? Because we also have bullet collisions with the rocks, right? So destroy on other. So the other gets destroyed here, which would be the. It should be the bullet, right? Player, how are we doing this? Destroy instance other. Okay. Maybe I got caught up in my own head. Self is referring to the power up, it's referring to the bullet, it's referring to this secondary thing we are bringing in to it. So self is the like dot. It's the additional thing, and then other would be the originator object. Okay, I mean that. Okay, I think I just got turned around somehow. All right, perfect.
With this done, let's go and add the alarm 0 event where the power up will be deactivated.
Are the alarms properties of the object? Is an alarm not a global alarm? Because that's how I've been interpreting it. So can each object then have an alarm 0 and it will be able to track that all just fine? Let's see. Okay, so we've added an alarm 0 effect.
So here we just want to set the power up variable to 0, then set the ship's color to white, and then its alpha or transparency to 1. So we are also resetting the alpha because we will be changing this for the other power up. So in game, this will allow you to collect the power up, and after 10 seconds, it will be deactivated. But while that power up is active, it doesn't do anything special right now. So let's make that work. While this power-up is active, we should be...
Okay, hold on. I want to verify that. Let me make sure. Okay, good. We've got that, and that is still working. Okay, so I need to stay alive for 10 seconds and see if this is going to go away on its own. Because if it does, then I definitely do not understand alarms. I do not understand alarms. Okay, so then this alarm 1... Well, I guess alarm 1 is important to have here because now we have an alarm 0. Okay. Okay. Weird. All right. Cool.
able to shoot extra bullets. So let's go to that part of the code where we shoot. This is found in the step events. Here we have a condition where we check if the left mouse button is pressed, and then we create a bullet instance. In the same pass, we're gonna check if our first power-up is active, and in that case, we are just gonna create some extra bullets. In the same block, let's go and add a condition to check if power-up is equal to 1.
Sorry, I think there's some extra stuff here that did not exist before. So if mouse pressed, and ours is looking a little spaghetti code because we converted from the GML and I haven't gone in and cleaned this all up. Once I get this Space Rock game done, I think there's one more tutorial after this on it, then I'll go through and rewrite it all into code, into nice clean code. But looks like he has some audio, which I do not have. Audio play sound, sound shoot. Do we have sound in this? I don't even know where we might like find that, to be honest. Okay, sounds, I guess, but pretty sure we don't have that. So that's just fine. We'll just skip that.
First power-up is active, and in that case, we are just gonna create some extra bullets. In the same block, let's go and add a condition to check.
Okay. So I already have if can shoot equals 1. Then we probably also need to do if power up equals 1. And then we're going to want another alarm in there. And we'll probably do this, what, just 3 times? And then, like, do we do y plus 2 plus 8? And then you would be minus 8? Is that gonna work?
Check if power-up is...
Oh, wait, he's got it over here. Variable bullet equals variable bullet. Oh. So he's declaring a new variable equals instance create layer that, and then he's saying do this and add 10 and then make another one and lower by 10. Oh, okay, I see how he's structuring this. All right. So he has the normal bullet shoot. So this is, okay. Shoot 1 bullet and cool down. Well, no, it's not even doing the, and start cooldown. And then we're going to do check for power-ups or spread shot. Then we'll do our check. We don't need that alarm set again. And we don't need this. So we're only making 2 more, right? I'm kind of curious what's going to happen if I do it this one. Nodlock Namra, my goodness. Good to see ya. How are you? Middle, he's changing the direction instead of creating offsets that they fire from. Your approach is interesting too, more of a tree of three. Yeah, so that would, you're right. That would be a like a fork, right? It would be three things going in the same direction, and his is going to rotate that, right? So let's die here. Binwill, thank you for coming in. Knotlock as well. Okay, so we've got really, really tall bullet is what this does. If I can stop dying. Okay. Okay. Now it's interesting that that bullet is not copying the player's angle. Anyways, cool. Right on. So you're so right. He's changing the direction. So he is making this new variable equals this. And this is a little new to me from the programming side of things. He's got this variable created as like a function. It is, but the offsets need to be rotated by the player rotation if you want them perpendicular from forward. It is, but the offsets need to be rotated by the player rotation. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no. I see what you're saying, because all of a sudden, if you're facing this way, then the Y needs to be up and down by a certain amount, right? But if you're facing this way, now it's X. So it's not really an that sort of thing. It would be you'd have to do some sort of rotational. Got it. Right on. Thank you. This is exactly why I like doing this sort of stuff on Twitch, because people are smart and more experienced than I am. So okay, so yeah, declaring a variable as like a function is something different to me. And maybe I used to do that and I have just since forgotten. So then I'm curious, why is he redeclaring this? Because he repeats this line down here when it seems like it already is. Oh, okay, he's reinitializing it because now bullet direction is plus equals 10. So he's resetting it to its original state so that he can do that different angle rotation. He can change the direction back from a baseline. So if we wanted to do it without this line, we would change this to be like 20, so it would offset completely. I would imagine if we did it that way, it might be a little bit more clunky in terms of how it operates, or it might make it harder to maintain moving forward if things get any more complicated, would be my guess. So let's give this a shot. Let's see where this takes us. Whoops. There we go. We got a spread shot. Nice. And is it going to wear off and turn off after 10 seconds? There we go. Works like a charm. Love it.
Is equal to 1. If it is, then we are going to create a new instance. So this will be an instance of obj bullets. We'll make it at the ship's location. It will be in the instances layer. And after making the instance, we're going to store its ref.
Bullet is the object returned by your instance create layer. Bullet is the object returned by your instance create layer. Bullet is the object returned by your instance create layer. So this is creating an object on that instance layer. You're then modifying the object's direction. Yeah. Okay. So here we are creating an object, and then we're setting that variable equal to that object. I don't know if you would know this or not. Is that underscore important for that? Like, could we say variable bullet? Or is that underscore saying essentially variable object bullet?
Reference in a new local variable that's simply called bullet. So through this reference that we are storing in a variable, we want to modify the direction of the new bullet that we have created. So
Unless there's a quirk to this language, it's a naming convention. Name it what you want. Okay. Okay. So it's just okay. So I'm curious, like, how will the IDE respond? Variable bullet equals that. Okay, so underscore is often used to indicate a local scoped variable. Interesting. Okay. Right on. Uh, okay. Often used to indicate a local scoped variable. So this is something that, like, it's not a global thing. Nobody else is going to need this bullet object. We're keeping it to this file. So then, like, I could probably do like can shoot as a local variable, and power up could be a local variable. That underscore bullet will basically not exist outside of your inner brackets there. That's the scope. Will not exist outside of here. Okay. Okay. And it looks like, yeah, it will, so it will change the color. It will recognize this is an object that is being created inside of this variable. And so that's good to know. I need to do some more learning on that because I vaguely understand you can't reference underscore bullet after the trailing bracket unless your language is crazy pants like JavaScript. That's like the one programming language I've become somewhat adept in. Okay. The joys of being in web. So you're saying that even after this curly brace, it's done. So I could not call bullet here. Set it to pre. I can't do that. Attempting to access the local variable bullet outside of the scope it was defined in. Okay, that's a very, very defined scope. Okay. JavaScript is underrated, but you need to know where it can lead you astray. Yeah. Okay, cool. Right on. Yeah, once again, this is all spaghetti nonsense code that came from the conversion from GML to code, and I'm going to clean that all up later. Declare it outside of that inner loop if you want to reference it outside. So I'd like put it, up here, right? Declare all my variables up front. Cool. And I'm restructuring my my mental model here. The reason it's local is not because of the underscore. It's because it's being declared inside of this scope. And so outside of that scope, it will not exist. So I'm curious then. I don't know if this language even does it. Can you do like variable global and then do that in some way? The underscore is to make it more clear at a glance. Sure. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for all this input and help. It's making a lot of sense. Great. All right. Brendo, what have you got for me here over
Just
here?
after this, I'm gonna shift its direction by 10 degrees so it goes off in a slightly different direction. And then we just want another bullet going in the other direction. So let's make a new instance for that, and we're gonna store its reference in the same variable. And then in the same manner, we're gonna shift its direction but by minus 10 degrees. So run the game, collect the power up, and you'll have the spread shot ability. With that, our first power up is
All
done.
right. See you later, Benwill. Thanks for hanging out and thanks for the support and the tutoring. Appreciate ya.
But it's not spawning automatically, we had to place it in the room ourselves. So we're gonna make it so a power up spawns once every 20 seconds, but it only spawns when you destroy a rock. So for
Okay.
counting down those seconds, let's go into obj game and here open the create event.
I'm curious why we're making this in object game instead of like in the power up itself. Yeah, I'm curious why. All right, let's see.
We're gonna make a new variable called power up underscore time, which is gonna count how many seconds are remaining for a power up to spawn.
Oh, because this allows it this allows it to be a global variable for all power-ups. So that my guess is they want a new power-up every 10 seconds, not a new scattershot and a new ghost every 10 seconds. They want an or instead of an and this allows it to be an or instead of an and. Got it.
We're gonna set this variable to 10, so the first power-up spawns 10 seconds after the game begins. To count it down every frame, let's go and add the step event. Here we're gonna modify the same variable that we just made, and we're gonna reduce it by the delta time value divided by 1 million. So delta time is the amount of time that has passed between the previous frame of the game and the current frame, but it's in microseconds, so we need to convert that into seconds by dividing it by 1 million. So by doing it this way, this variable is going to go down by 1 every 1 second. So in 10 seconds, it'll become 0 and then it'll go negative. So once this variable is negative, that's our signal for spawning a power-up. For that, let's go into obj rock because we want to spawn a power-up when a rock is...
Okay. I need to think through this a little bit. So we have power up time as a variable inside of step. Step is like what is happening during just a, from what I understand, it is a broad, this happens during the game. So we have a new power up time, which is delta time divided by 1 million. Wait, hold on. Okay, here's my confusion. We have power up time here at a value of 10. And then we have again here power up time. So we declare it here, and then we are referencing it here. What does the code look like here? This visuality is making no sense. Power up time minus equals delta time by 1,000. Okay. So I understand now that this is saying power up time is equal to power up time minus, that's what this minus equals is, if you're unfamiliar. Power up time minus equals, so it is equal to itself minus this, which is delta time divided by 1 million. GameMaker delta time. Let me look this up here. The purpose of delta timing is to eliminate the effects of the lag or slowness of computers to try to handle complex graphics or a lot of code. It is a value that can be added on the speed of objects, so they will eventually move at the same speed, regardless of lag. That's not why we're using it here. This is achieved in GameMaker by using the delta time variable every step, as it measures the time that has passed between one step and the next in microseconds. Therefore, the variable delta time can be used to calculate how much faster, for example, a game character has to move to make up for a lag spike in the game. That sounds fascinating and way beyond my pay grade. So yeah, they're dividing it by 1 million as well. And I'm pretty sure this is just my math brain not working out. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have a microsecond divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, does that math? Right? I mean, it should. I mean, I believe them when they say it is, but I'm having a struggle understanding it for myself. 1 microsecond is 1/1,000,000th of a second. So divided by 1 million. So I understand that dividing by a fraction makes the number bigger instead of smaller, right? Like I understand that from a mathematical perspective and how the flippy whippies happen. But we're not dividing by a fraction. We're dividing a fraction by a whole number. But like, okay, so we have 1 over 1 million divided by 1 million. So we would take the bottom, flip it over, So it would become 1/1,000,000th times a million, or boy, it's it's times, right? You flip the divide into times as well, right? Oh man, I used to be a math major. Younger me would be forehead slapping so hard. I've spent too much time in the creative space. So yeah, you multiply it, so it would be 1/1,000,000 times a million over 1. So that would cancel out, and you'd get 1, right? That's how that should work. For some reason, it's not how it's working when I type it into my calculator. But I believe them, and I think from a mathematical theory perspective, I understand it. Let's go back.
Is negative.
Okay, and that's what that minus is. So the value, so we're referencing power up time, and we're saying its new value is minus delta time over. So value, I guess, is an implicit equals for the visual side of things, I guess.
That's our signal for spawning a power-up. For that, let's go into obj rock because we want to spawn a power-up when a rock is destroyed. And that happens in the collision event with obj bullets because of course bullets destroy rocks. So at the top of this
So I'm curious why we're going to keep on adding to this and kind of inflating it even more, because a lot of stuff is happening in here. It seems like it might be wise to just say on destroy, do this. But maybe there's something to be said for keeping it all kind of localized.
event, let's add this. We're gonna check if the power-up time variable, which is from obj game, is less than 0. If it is, we want to spawn a power-up. So first of all, we're gonna run the choose function so that it chooses.
Okay, so if, I mean, I would imagine that we're putting it in this else, right? Where did he put
At the top
this?
of this event, let's add this.
On the top of the event. Why are we putting it at the top of the event and not, like, after the destroy instance? I guess because then we'd have to do it twice, because you could get destroyed going from a big rock to a small rock, or it could be from a small rock to nothing. So maybe that's why. So we can declare it at only one spot instead of having to double it, and then, you know, if something happens, you have to change things in both spaces. I guess I can see that. All right. So we're checking if obj game dot power up time is less than 0. Shouldn't we do less or equal? So it would suck to like be to have that weird fringe scenario where you destroy something at exactly 0 and you don't get your power up. Not that would really matter, probably, because the time between rock destruction is like really small, so you wouldn't feel like you're missing out on anything. But still. So if that is less than, we're making a new variable of once again, we're doing this local thing. Underscore object. Okay.
We're gonna check if the power-up time variable, which is from obj game, is less than 0. If it is, we want to spawn a power-up. So first of all, we're gonna run the choose function so that it chooses a
Choose. Okay. So we're not assigning a variable. So this is where the code starts to diverge even more from the visualness, which is interesting. So we've got a choose instead of a instead of creating a variable. Because I was wondering, how are we going to put this into the value? So let me Let me find choose here. Choose. Number 3, my lord. Yeah, random, right? That makes sense. Whoa.
from the multiple power-up objects that you can have. Of course, at the moment, we only have one power-up, so that's all we're gonna mention here. And the power-up object that is selected is gonna be stored in the obj variable. So we then use that variable to create a new instance from it.
Is temp saying this is a local variable with that underscore? Is that what's making it underscored instead of something else? I'm curious what would happen if we didn't check that. How would that affect the code? And then create instance. We are making object what?
We make this instance at the rocks position in the instances layer. So this will
Yep.
spawn the power-up. And after that, we should reset the power-up timer so that the next power-up can spawn 20 seconds after this. So we're gonna set the objgame.powerup time variable to 20. Now before you test this, go into the game room and make sure you delete the power-up that you manually placed there, and then run the game, keep shooting at rocks.
All right. Let's check our work here. So we start with that timer counting down. If I can survive long enough to actually get it. Feels like we should have seen it by now. There it is. Right on. Cool. And then this should go away after 10 seconds. Oh, and that's why we set the power up time to 20 instead of 10. Because we need to account for the duration of the power up. So it should be however long the power up lasts plus 10 seconds. So let me check that. That should work out. Once this expires, we should have 10 seconds before we see another power up. No, that was not 10 seconds. That's interesting. I wonder if that's something that I have done wrong, or is the tutorial just not going to account for that, or are we not at that point yet? Okay, let's keep looking.
And in 10 seconds, you will get your new power-up. Now, as a quick bonus, before we add the second power-up, let's make it so you can see how many seconds are remaining before your current power-up is deactivated.
That's a good
We
call.
want to draw those number of seconds just above the player ship. So for that, let's go into the...
I mean, I think obviously the better usability aspect would not be to have numbers, but to have like a flash start when you start getting close to running out. But like that's probably harder to do, or at least less obvious. It's probably not going to teach us this next principle. I understand where they're having us do numbers.
obj player object and add the draw event. Now the first...
Okay. So we're gonna draw. Add event. Draw. And we're just drawing. We're not doing a draw GUI. Just a draw. Okay. This is in the player object, right? Oh, I'm not in the player object. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. Delete event. Yes. Object player. Add event. Draw. Right on.
First thing you should do in a draw event is use the draw self function so that the instance itself is drawn. In this
Draw self so that the instance itself is drawn.
case, we do want the player ship to be drawn, so we're gonna use that. Then let's check if the alarm 0 event
Wait, we want the player ship to be drawn?
to be drawn, so we're gonna use itself is drawn. In this case, we do want the player ship to be drawn, so we're gonna use that.
Player ship to be drawn? That must mean something outside of what I think it means. Let's look for draw self. Boy, that search function is not very good. Draw self. This variable returns the frame delta time. No, we're still in delta time. Gosh dang it. Draw self. This function draws the sprite assigned to the instance exactly as it would be drawn if the draw event held no code or actions. So it draws the sprite assigned to the instance exactly as it would be drawn. And it will reflect and changes. I would assume that means any changes. Any changes that have been made to the sprite variables in other sprite variables? Interesting. Okay. So I'm assuming the reason we haven't needed this until now is because we manually placed ourselves in the room. And that if we didn't have that manual placement, then that would mean we would need a draw self to put ourselves in the room, to put that visual representation, to put that sprite there. Okay. So let's find draw self.
Then let's check if the alarm 0 event is active by checking if the alarm value is greater than 0. So we are checking the alarm because the alarm is what disables the power up. So we are just gonna check whether that alarm is active, and then we are just gonna draw that alarm's value to the screen so we can see how much time is remaining. Before we
Okay. So we're in object player. So we do have that alarm. That is the power up alarm. We also have alarm 1, which is the cooldown on the bullet shooting. Okay. Got it. I'm curious. I'm still curious about like the scope of alarms. Like, can OBJ bullet reference alarm 0 here, or is this its own thing? Because in OBJ game we do have this at alarm 0. When that triggers, restart the room. Which like doesn't. I don't think we have anywhere that we're instantiating the alarm in here. So we must be reading things from elsewhere. But then I don't understand why this is not why this isn't getting triggered when the power up runs out. Because when we have a collision with a rock, we're making the firework effect. We're destroying the player sprite. Oh! And we're making an alarm in the object game instance. There we go. That's it. That's solving my problem. Okay, now I get it. Alarms are scoped to where they are. So like if I add an alarm here, oh, interesting. There's got to be some way that I can like applies to object player or applies to object game. Where's object game? Right there. Right? Set alarm 0 to 30 on object game, which I imagine would be this. Oh man, it all makes sense. Oh, logic prevails. Hooray!
draw the value, let's add this to change the horizontal alignment of the text that we are about to draw to center so that it's centered above the player ship. And then let's use this function.
Set text alignment to center so it's centered on top of the ship. I guess what that means, if it were left aligned, you'll have like your ship here. Let's get on like a dark background. Your ship here, you have a number starting here because it's left aligned. Your single digit will be here, and then your tens digit will be here, and then your hundreds digit will be over here. Whereas if we're doing centered text, then it will have the field will be like all the way. All the way. I need to figure out how to do a whiteboard on this thing. You know what? I know how to do this. Figma, where's my whiteboard? Where's my whiteboard? Where's my whiteboard? Oh, I don't have a whiteboard. Okay, let's go to, I don't know. This is old. Could repurpose this. If Figma didn't load super slowly. Anyways, we'll talk about that in a second. Let me go find that text alignment. I would assume it would be drawn. Oh, here it is. I was just totally missing it. So we want to align it, so is that going to be FA underscore center? I'm curious why FA is like the signifier there. And then this is the vertical alignment, so top, middle, bottom. So if we did center middle, then that would be like right on top of the thing. Okay, so we have a player ship right here. The reason the text needs to be centered is because I'm assuming we are drawing a text field that is the width of the sprite. So if we have a big 1, change that to be extra large, and it's left aligned, it will be left aligned with the ship. And if we do centered, it will be that, right? So my question then is, what is the width of that field defaulting to? If I get so many numbers, what's going to happen? Is it going to wrap? Is it going to truncate? Is it going to just fall off? Is it going to keep expanding outside of the sprite range? Will that affect collisions? I'm very curious. All right, so we're setting the text alignment. We're drawing text. This is how my brain works, asking a million questions that nobody else cares about.
To draw the alarm value to the screen. So the value that we are drawing is the alarm value divided by 60 and then rounded. We are doing this because the alarm value by default will...
Yeah, because the alarm value is going to be not in seconds, right? It's going to be in like relative... Wait, I don't know how to explain this. That means that I don't understand it well enough. Explain it to me.
Be in frames because it will tell us how many frames are remaining for that alarm event to be triggered.
Okay, so alarm runs in frames. Once again, I'm really curious why and why it's not... Because, like, if it's frames and you have 60 frames per second, your game is going to run slower than someone then has 120 frames per second, right? If you have 120 frames per second, then this alarm extinguishes at double the rate, right? Is there a way you can, like, normalize on frame rate of, like... But frame rate is variable, though. It's not a constant. So man, I don't know. But anyway, we're taking a measurement in frames, turning it into seconds, and then rounding that to the nearest whole number.
But what we want to show to the player is seconds. So we are dividing the alarm value by 60 to convert it from frames into seconds. And then we are rounding it because we don't want to display a decimal value. We want to show a simple whole number. We are drawing this text just at the ship's location, but 60 pixels above it. Then at the end, make sure you reset the horizontal alignment back to left. Run the game, collects a...
So why are we setting the text alignment back to left at the end?
Make sure you reset the horizontal alignment.
Why?
Back to left.
Hey, welcome back, Benwill. Why are we resetting it? So, okay, so what's going to happen here? We are drawing self at the start of the game. And if... And then after it is drawn, we are going to check if alarm 0 is greater than 0, which means it is running. Alarm 0 runs when a power-up gets selected, right? Yes. So we're starting the alarm here, which means we have picked up a power-up. So now this if is true. We jump in, we set text alignment to center. We draw the time left and then reset to left. I do not understand why we're resetting to left. Let's see what happens here. And I'm assuming it will be kind of invisible to tell. Judging based off the quality of the tutorial, like, it shouldn't matter. Oh wait, no, we're not drawing. We're not drawing it yet. Huh. All right, 1 second. Hello, this is Joe. The Center of the Place of Hope? I'm unfamiliar with that organization. Hey! Thank you. I did notice that and then muted myself. Ironically, I'm not muted right now. So we're talking on stream. You're gonna be hearing this in a couple seconds. So thank you. All right. Talk to you later. Oh man. It's like it's amateur hour in here. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I need to figure out how to take calls better because I'm using my phone as the camera, which means taking calls is a little difficult. I need to get it integrated into the computer a little bit. Amateur game dev rocks. Oh, literally. That's what we're building. Those rocks. It's called Rock Game. Space Rocks. Okay. I would guess because most text assumes left justification. So we just change it to center for when we want center text, then change it back so that other text that assumes left justification doesn't suddenly shift. Okay. But what's weird to me is, like, isn't this constantly running? So, like, we're setting it to the center, we're drawing the alarm, and then we're setting it to left, and then we go through and, like, I guess that's something I don't understand. Does this draw value draw like each frame, or is it saying I understand I'm supposed to draw this and I will create this draw and it will stay forever, and then we're setting text left for anything else that also needs to be displayed, and this doesn't really affect this anymore.
Run the game, collect a power up, and you're gonna see the number of seconds back to left.
Okay, so I have done something wrong.
To confirm this, let's go into
Let me see
the
here.
OBJ player
Into,
object.
okay,
And
we're
add the draw
in
event.
player.
Now,
We're
the
in
first
draw.
thing you should do in a draw event is
We are drawing. Okay, you know what? Let's convert this to code, so I can actually deal with this. So draw self if alarm 0 is greater than 0. Doing a good job, converter. Okay, this is extra. We don't need that. We don't need that. So draw set H align FA center. We got that. Draw text. Did I do the wrong? Draw? No, I don't think so. Oh, here we go. Draw text. Draw text X, Y. So we have X and Y here. Which, I mean, let me change these. Minus 60. And then, okay, this is weird. Okay, so how was it before? It was 0, 60, and plus string round alarm that. So that is that parenthesis, that parenthesis. That's an argument for string. With this function, you can turn any value into a string. Okay. Which is weird because I don't think he's doing that. He's not stringifying it. And then we have the argument for draw text. Well, with this function, you can draw any string at any position within the room. For drawing real numbers, you should use the string function to convert them into text. X, Y, and the string. Okay, so that seems like it should work, right? You know what? I'm gonna kill that, and then I'm gonna put my power up back here so we don't have to wait every time. Come on. Yeah, it's wait. Oh, I found it. Okay. So I know what the problem was. So, gosh, if I can stay alive for like 2 seconds in this game. The power up is over here. It's at 0 and 60. So probably what happened is that in the visual, I did not check relative. So it said this should be at 0 and 60 instead of X and Y minus 60. Okay. So it's good to know we can just say plus string of this. He is doing what is probably the like better, more organized, cleaner thing of doing setting a variable and then referencing that variable. So that will close that up. Semicolon. Now yep, there we go. So we have our yellow text indicating it's a variable. And then we will just change that. And I'm assuming the plus is just appending to anything else that was already there, possibly. So we can just change this to underscore time. And that's our local variable that will not exist as soon as we leave that if statement. So this should put the numbers right over our ship. Yep, right there, right on. Cool. Definitely could use some typography work, but hey, it functions. Go team.
It'll tell us how many frames are remaining for that alarm event to be triggered. But what we want to show to the player is seconds. So we are dividing the alarm value by 60 to convert it from frames into seconds. And then we are rounding it because we don't want to display a decimal value. We want to show a simple whole number. We are drawing this text just at the ship's location, but 60 pixels above it. Then at the end, make sure you reset the horizontal alignment back to left. Run the game, collect.
So I'm curious, if we comment that out, man, I need to understand. What is that? I mean, it looks like it's not doing anything. So what happens if we uncomment it and then do draw underscore text X, Y plus 60. So we'll go on the underside of the ship. And it will just be, do I have to put it in quotes? Would it be that? Left. Okay. Is that going to break? Unexpected token. Okay, you're not screaming at me anymore. Yep, okay, crash. Okay, it's full quotes. Got it. So that doesn't seem to be left aligned. It seems like it's center aligned. What would happen if we disabled that? We'll disable the center alignment. You probably want to add the left to your time variable. Probably want to add. So I'm not noticing any difference if we have this draw set or not. You probably want to add the left on your time variable. Like appending the text onto here?
It's a power up, and you're gonna see the number of seconds that are remaining.
Well, I kind of wanted it to be separate because the goal was hopefully, the theory was this would be center aligned and this would be left aligned. So I could like observe what the difference was. Okay. Yeah, because those look equal aligned. Okay. You want to go outside, pups? We'll have fun. All right. It'll be hard to tell the difference with static text. Okay. So then this goes into my question I had earlier of, and I think I had this question while you were gone. What is being drawn? What is this text? I said, like, I'm assuming it's going to draw a text box that is, like, the same dimensions, more or less, as the sprite containing it. But it sounds like that might not be the case. So if we have, like, a huge text string in there, how is that going to display? Now that's interesting. Because this is aligned with this, but this is clearly centered. So it seems like the text box is like forming... The text box itself starts halfway up. So we have our timer, and then we have left, and then we have this super long string. But it looks like it's expanding out beyond our bounds. Let's see here. Yeah, that's definitely going beyond the dimensions of the player sprite. So we have like these 3 different text boxes. So that means if this grows, then it means it probably also shrinks. So that's probably what our text boxes look like. Center H line will make the X coordinate the center of your text box sprite. Center horizontal align will make the X coordinate the center of your text box sprite. Yes. Okay. Let's give this example a shot here. So we have 0. Come on. 00, 000. So be 240 and then 300. So we got 0. So yeah, I mean it's we've got that line there, right? Which is this kind of center line over here in our whiteboard. What's weird to me is that when we set the horizontal alignment to left, it's not then It's not then changing it so that we have 0, 0, 0, and 0, 0, 0. You know, whatever that needs to be, aligned left. This is kind of how I would expect that behavior to be, right? So it probably isn't the width of the sprite. It's probably just as wide as it needs to be to display. So let's go pick this up. Yeah, this left stuff, the stuff below the player, should be left aligned, but it looks like it's still center aligned. Man. Is it because in the object, in the player object, we have, oops. Oh, shoot. There we go. In the player object, the coordinate you're passing in is the center of the ship sprite. That's what I was gonna ask. Is like, let's see. Is it in the player sprite? Yeah. Is it this guy? Because we have this center point, and I remember we had to deal with. Oh yeah, origin, middle center. So is it just that origin? It's just always spawning at the origin? So, okay, so what will happen? Let's do oranges to oranges here. Plus 360. So if this is working the way I would expect it to, this would look like this. Let's see. If you want it left aligned with the ship sprite, you'll have to subtract the x half dimension. Okay. That's making sense. Okay, cool. Right on. Okay. So it is creating it in line with that center origin point. And then that centering is centering it on the ship. Left is still starting it at the center of the ship, but then justifying left and continuing outward from there. Okay. This is making sense. Perfect. And I understand why if you want it left aligned with the ship sprite, you'll have to subtract the x half dimensions because it's starting at the origin, not the edge of the sprite. So really, what we have is a little dot, little tiny dot that is centered. And that's what it's all lining up with. So really, all of this stuff is lining up with this guy. And that's how it's functioning. So the stuff above is centered over that dot, and the stuff below is left aligned to that dot. Perfect. Awesome. That makes a whole lot of sense to me. I do wonder why that little dot exists and why it isn't to the sprite. I'm sure there's very good reasons behind it. But yeah, I'm curious about that origin point. What is the purpose of that? But hey, at least now I understand text, how it draws. That's great. Now we can clean all this up. Perfect.
Before that power up runs out.
Double check
The
our work.
font that you see on the text for those seconds
Yeah,
will depend on what font you already used in the game. So in my project, I used this font in the main menu that we made in another tutorial. And
Yeah.
that's
Okay, so this is the third tutorial. I skipped that second one. I need to go back and do that second one.
why this is the font.
Do that tomorrow. The origin point was the top left. When you rotated it, the whole sprite would rotate around the corner instead of rotating around the center. Yeah, I mean that makes sense to me, right? You want anytime you alter the direction, you want that direction to be relative to the center. And that makes sense. I'm curious why that also affects the text, and the text isn't relative to the asset, to the sprite itself, and why it's relative to the origin instead. I guess everything then is just relative to the origin, probably, just to keep everything consistent in logic. Is that probably the thought process?
I see. You may see something different. Let's add the second power up now, which is a ghost power up that makes you invincible. We already have a sprite for this, so we need to make an object. For the object, I'm just gonna go to the spread power up object that we made in this video, and let's right click on that and duplicate it. Let's change its name to obj power up ghost,
We've already done
and
all
also change
this.
its sprite to the ghost power up sprite. That's all we need for that object, so let's see how the player will interact with this. Let's go into obj player. Here we already have a collision event.
I nailed it. Yay, I nailed it. So it's just logical consistency across different attributes. So you always know anytime you're doing anything with this object, it will be in reference to that origin point. And then if you want it to be in reference to the sprite, you're going to have to do some extra McJiggering. Okay, cool. Right on. Thank you.
With the spread power up. So let's duplicate that as well and make it a collision event with the ghost power up. So this is the event
That's what we
where the
got.
player comes in contact with a ghost power up.
So could we then just copy this guy? Can I just, like, is there a way to copy and then delete? Yes. Paste. Is that gonna work? And then just change that to 2. I'm gonna change it to a different color because ghosts should be a different color, right?
When it does that, we want the power up variable to be set to 2 instead of 1. And then for the visual effects, we're not gonna change its color to yellow, let's keep it white. But instead, let's make it a bit transparent by using a low alpha value. So if you collect this power up, it will be activated. The ship will become a bit transparent. So let's code what happens while this power up is active. Because this
How did that just spawn a ghost? Did we tell it to spawn a ghost yet? Let's go to our rock. Oh, that's right. We're choosing, right? We have the random choice. Okay, cool. So let's delete this guy. Let's throw in our ghost. See if this is working the way we expect it to. Cool. Right on.
makes you invincible, all it needs to do is disable the interaction between a player and a rock. So in the player, we have a collision event with obj rock. So in this event, at the very top, let's add a condition to check if power up 2 is active, which is our ghost power up. And in that case, let's exit out of the event.
Now this is hilarious to me for some reason. I remember watching this the other day. I still hadn't even opened GameMaker at that point, but I remember watching this and trying to think through it logically. And it's hilarious that we just exit from it instead of, like, what I would have expected is like wrapping this all in some sort of if statement of like, if power up is not equal to 2, then run this. And for some reason, just saying quit is funny to me. I don't know why. Okay, so if it's power up number 2, when it detects a collision with a rock, it will check that, and if it's true, then it will just quit out at this line. None of this will get used. So, weird. Okay, so we can pick up the ghost, and we're not colliding. And then, once the ghost runs out, we should instantly explode if we are inside of an asteroid. And then we'll reset. Yes, perfect. Good.
This means that if power up 2 is active, then the rest of this event, which destroys the player, is not going to run, meaning nothing is going to happen to the player. Now we also want this power up to be spawned, and because that happens in obj rock, let's go into that object and let's open the collision event with obj bullets. Here in the choose function, we can just add it as a second option. And so it'll be spawned. But for now, just to test it, I'm gonna replace the spread power up with the ghost power up. So only that power up spawns for now. And let's go into the game and test it. In 10 seconds, I get the ghost.
Okay, so that's how we add extra options. Okay, got it. I'll type that in.
Power up from a rock, and when I collect it, I become a bit transparent and I can go through rocks. So with the power up tested and working, you can go back into the rock object and you can then add the spread power up as the second option in your choose function. And with that, our power up system is working, but not necessarily finished because you can now go and add your own power ups. So if you do add any new power ups or if you have ideas for power ups that can be added to this game, let me know down in the comments. Also, check out the many more GameMaker tutorials that we have for you, and I'll see you in the next video.
Awesome. That's great. We'll do the menu tomorrow. Cool. So today we learned about the choose. That was something new of like randomly choose something from a list. We learned about text. We certainly learned about text and drawing events and what draw self was and when it is and is not necessary. We made some assets to throw into the game. That was fun, making the little ghosty and the spread shot icon. And we learned about the exit. So like if you want something to just not collide, for example, throw an exit at the top. We learned about this guy of how to structure things if structure things on a more global cooldown instead of a specific cooldown for like each power up. We have like global cooldown that so one power up shows every cooldown. And then we learned about alarms as well. Yeah, we learned that alarms are locally scoped, which was a big deal. That was a very, very helpful thing. We used color in alpha for the first times. I'm curious how color works. I wonder if it only affects white or if it will just like put that color over the entire sprite. Will it be on like a blending mode or is it just now every single pixel that is not transparent is now that color? Curious how that works. That was awesome. That was all super, super awesome. Learned a ton. Thank you everyone for your thoughts and comments. Ben Will, thank you for the tutoring. Really appreciate it. And we are finishing right on schedule. We're finishing 7 minutes ahead of time, so I can go release the little one and go be a dad. Not a Unity guru, but I would guess it multiplies the color. That would make sense to me. And this is actually GameMaker, not Unity, because it's really good for 2D games, and from what I hear, and that's what I'm planning on making. So, although I have tooled around with Unity, and I do want to try doing stuff in Unity, but I want to get my feet underneath me with something a little bit simpler. Multiplies the color. That would make sense. So that would be a multiply blending mode. Yeah, interesting. Cool. Hey, thank you everyone. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. See ya.